Welcome everyone. Today we will be talking about the election of 1860. To start off first, we have a quote from Emerson White, the author of The Presidential Campaign of 1860. And I quote, "There have been more exciting and enthusiastic political campaigns in the history of the country than that of 1860. But never has a campaign been waged in which the people of the whole nation have taken a more calm, serious, and intelligent interest." So today, like I mentioned, we are going to learn the events surrounding the U.S. election of 1860. I learned this in my Making U.S. History class by Professor Mark Beasley. And today you will learn the competing ideologies between the North and South, the candidates of the election, and the aftermath of the election. So the competing ideologies of the North versus South. So Professor Beasley mentioned in his lecture that the North and South viewed America very differently at this time, as we know, leading up to the Civil War. And it wasn't just about slavery, though. The North viewed the U.S. as a whole, as one nation, one entity, not as separate states, but one entire nation. The South, on the other hand, saw themselves as a collection of states. They strongly believed in the states' rights, believed that the states had their own government that had its own separate power from the federal government. So they were very big on not necessarily the nation as a whole, but the states that make up the United States. With this, we will go into each candidate. This is important due to the fact that it sets the stage for what the candidates believed in as they campaigned. So the candidates for the presidency. History.com provided all the dates I will be giving you. So as we know, Abraham Lincoln was elected as the Republican nominee on May 16th of 1860. And I'll let y'all, it's kind of fuzzy, but I will let y'all read what they sort of believed in. I'm not going to dive in that too much. Now, the Democrats are an interesting story. They were split over the issue of slavery in the election of 1860. John Green, in his Crash Course video, said that this was making the Democrats the last remaining truly national party, no longer truly a national party. So we see division within own political parties. So after 2 months of deliberation, Stephen Douglas became the Northern Democrat nominee in June of 1860. And the Southern Democrats did not agree with Stephen Douglas's view on slavery, so they elected pro-slavery John C. Breckinridge. Now, the Constitutional Union Party was the fourth party that joined into the election. They did not necessarily agree with any of the major political parties, North, South, Republican parties. And on May 9th, 1860, they elected John Bell as their nominee. So, going into the aftermath of the election, as we all well know, Abraham Lincoln won on November 6th of 1860 with a majority of 180 electoral votes. And this very much caused the South to fear for their, not necessarily safety, but for their livelihood. The South wanted to keep their slaves intact, slavery as an institution intact, and the South, and Abraham Lincoln's election greatly threatened that, and they were very fearful of what would happen if a Republican president or a Republican candidate became president, which they did. Oliver Crenshaw is noted in quoting in his book, The Slave States in the Presidential Election of 1860, that it was the election of 1860 which brought unity, a unity which proved to be a short duration, but sufficient to enable the new government to begin its fateful career. So he said that about the southern states. So we move into the aftermath of the election. Starting on December 20th, 1860, about a little bit over a month after the election, South Carolina seceded from the Union. And as you can tell, all the way until February 1st in 1961 with Texas, 7 states seceded from the Union in response to Lincoln's election. This all happened before Lincoln's inauguration in March of 1861 and before the official start of the war in April 12, 1861. Now you have learned about the election of 1860. I have shared with you the competing ideologies of the North and South, the presidential candidates, and the aftermath of the election of 1860. Thank you.